I was the wife of Michael. He was a kind and compassionate man who helped the people of our small town in upstate New York a lot. Every evening after sunset, he would take 5 young boys to a locked room in the basement of our large countryside estate. 2 hours later, they would return, and on each boy's face was a smile. They happily carried black bags filled with money. When I asked Michael about it, he simply said he was helping poor kids. Driven by curiosity, one day, I hid behind the curtain of that very room. As soon as the boys entered after sunset, I discovered the truth that shook me to my core my husband was. It was the first night of our marriage. I sat on the bed, my veil covering me, waiting for Michael to come. Hours passed, but he did not come into the room. My heart began to race, so I got up and stepped outside. I had married into the Carter family. The estate was huge. I wasn't sure which way to go when a housekeeper approached me and asked, "Why did you leave your room?" I said, "I want to see my husband." She looked uneasy and pointed toward the servants' quarters, saying, "Mr. Carter is in that room right now." I started to move toward that room, but the housekeeper grabbed my hand, saying, "No one is allowed there." Her attitude upset me. I said angrily, "I'm not just anyone. I am Mr. Carter's wife." The housekeeper seemed nervous. She said, "If you go there, you won't remain his wife." I asked, "What nonsense is this? What do you mean?" She replied, "I'm afraid Mr. Carter might divorce you." After saying this, she walked away, and I was left stunned, but I still headed toward the room. When I was only a few steps away, the door opened, and 5 boys came out. As they passed me, I saw their faces pale but smiling. I wasn't sure if their smiles were genuine or fake. Then I noticed the black bags in their hands. I stopped one boy and asked, "What's in these bags?" He replied, "Mr. Carter is a very kind man. He gave us this money." Before I could ask more, Michael came out of the room. The boys walked away, but Michael glared at me with anger on his face. He said, "What are you doing here?" I quickly replied, "I was waiting for you. You didn't come into the room, so I stepped out." He warned, "Be careful. If I see you near this room again, there will be consequences." I asked, "Why, Michael? What is so special about this room that even your wife is not allowed in?" He stared at me coldly and said, "You've been my wife for less than 36 hours, and already claiming your rights. Come inside. I'm coming." Seeing the anger on his face, I got scared and hurried back to my room, sitting on the bed with my veil on. About half an hour later, Michael entered the room, but didn't even lift my veil. He went straight to the bathroom. When he came out, he said, "Go wash your face and hands, then go to sleep." I didn't like this attitude at all. I said, "Michael, at least lift my veil." He said, "I would have, if you hadn't left the room behind me. Now get up, freshen up, and go to sleep. I'm tired. I've been preparing for this wedding for many days." Michael was a very kind and good man. Everyone in our town liked and praised him. It was well known that he helped everyone. There was no house in the town without a fire burning on the stove. If a family had no food, Michael would help them. I was from a poor family. My background wasn't strong, but I was educated. Somehow Michael noticed me and fell for me. When he proposed, my father immediately agreed, because getting a proposal from the Carter family was a big deal. I was happy, thinking that I would marry a kind-hearted man and be happy forever. But I had no idea that on our very first night, things between us would take such a turn. Michael, who was a great man to the world, had somehow changed for me. I couldn't sleep all night and kept tossing in bed while Michael slept soundly. I decided that in the morning I would definitely talk to him about his behavior, but when morning came, I fell asleep again, and when I woke up, Michael was gone. Because we lived in a small town, the wedding reception was held at 10 a.m., and the whole town was invited. My friends didn't joke with me as usual. They said, "What good thing did you do to become the bride of such a big house? Give us some fake luck so we can get some too." I said, "I don't know if my fate is good or not. Only time will tell." After the reception, I was sent to my room. My eyes were fixed on the door, hoping Michael would come soon, so I could talk to him. But he didn't. Time passed, and Michael still didn't come to the room. I wanted to go out, but thought that if I left, Michael might get angry that I left again. So, I stood by the window, looking outside for any sign of him. That's when I noticed the servants' quarters again. Once again, 5 young boys came out of the locked room, and Michael followed them. I was confused why my husband was taking these boys to that room. The age difference between Michael and those boys was large. If they were his age, I would have understood it was friendship. But how could this be? I thought that when Michael comes inside the room tonight, I will ask him about this. I sat on the bed waiting. A little while later, Michael came inside. I looked at him, expectantly. He said, "How are you?" I said, "I'm fine." He said, "I'm feeling a little unwell, sleepy. You should sleep too. I'll sleep." This behavior was completely incomprehensible to me. I quickly got up and stood and said, "Michael, I want to ask you something." He replied, "I don't like girls who ask too many questions." I said, "If you don't answer this question, I won't be able to sleep the whole night." He said, "All right, ask. What is it?" I asked, "Did you marry me out of your own choice, or did someone force you?" Michael looked at me strangely and said, "I married 100% by my own choice. No one can force me to marry." I asked, "Then why do you treat me this way?" He replied, "How am I treating you? I have given you a home, a name. What else do you want? The only thing is that I am tired and want to sleep. Are you upset about such a small thing?" Hearing this, I remained silent. Well, now I fell deep into thought. Would my whole life pass like this? Had I made a mistake marrying Michael? The whole night passed thinking about this. The next morning, I went outside and started visiting around the estate. I saw the same housekeeper who had warned me about that room, and Michael possibly divorcing me. I called out to her, and she politely came in front of me. I asked, "Tell me, why does Michael go to the servants' quarters every day?" She said, "There is a ban on talking about this subject in the estate. No one has the right to ask." I said, "Why? Why is it not allowed?" I had seen Michael come out of that room very tired. He didn't even want to talk to anyone. The housekeeper was silent after hearing me. She looked around as if making sure no one was listening, and then said, "Madam, you've only seen Michael's tiredness, but you have never seen how tired those boys are when they come out of the servants' quarters with him." I was shocked hearing this and asked, "Do you know something? Why does this happen? Have you ever peeked inside that room to see what happens there?" She replied, "No, no servant is allowed to enter that room. We don't know what happens there or not. But when the boys come out, they hold black bags full of notes, money." She continued, "Michael has a lot of money. He constantly helps some family in the town. I don't know where he gets so much money from." I was surprised and asked, "What do you mean? Where does he get money from? He's the head of the town, so he must have money." She said, "No, madam, it's not like that. Even the Carters don't have that much money these days. I have been a housekeeper in this estate since Michael's father's time. His father didn't have so much money, although he was better at managing the lands. He used to sow and work on crops on time, but still did not have so much money. Michael doesn't even know much about farming. His crops often fail, but still, he has money." I nodded, holding some money in my hand, and gave it to the housekeeper. She was happy and said, "If you need any information in the future, please contact me." I nodded, and she left. Now I knew that this room, about which the housekeeper was cautious, was very important. I was roaming the estate aimlessly, when suddenly, Michael appeared in front of me. He smiled when he saw me, and said, "So, today the lady of the estate is out on a tour. How do you like the estate?" I smiled at his words. He said, "If you need anything, just tell me. I will make this estate exactly to your liking." I couldn't believe this was the same man who had been ignoring me for 2 nights. Then he took my hand and said, "Come, I will show you the rest." He took me to the lawn where small flowers were planted. At that moment, he looked like a completely changed man. I wanted to ask why his mood was so bad at night, but I couldn't because I knew he could leave me at any moment. We had a very good time. Evening came, and once again, Michael locked himself in the servants' quarters. Then I saw those 5 boys going into that room again. They came out 2 hours later. I wondered what those boys were taking to that room. Why was the whole estate forbidden to talk about this? If it was a normal thing, everyone would be free to talk. But something special was being hidden. Now, as the lady of the house, I had to keep an eye on everything. I thought no servant would know about this room. Today, Michael and I had talked a lot and spent a nice time together. So, when he came to the room in the evening, I decided to ask him gently about my curiosity. Evening was passing, and Michael came into the room late as usual. There were wrinkles on his forehead. I said, "You're back? I was waiting for you." Michael didn't reply and went to the bathroom to freshen up. When he came back, he said, "You're still awake? Go to sleep." I took Michael's hand and said, "Please tell me one thing. Why do you go to the servants' quarters every day?" Michael quickly pulled his hand away and said, "Talking about the servants' quarters is forbidden in this estate. You're new here, so maybe you don't know. I forgave you because of that, but don't talk about that room anymore." I was surprised and asked, "Why, Michael? Why is that? I am your wife. I should know, right?" Michael said, "Not everything should be told to wives. Just don't talk about it anymore. If you insist, I will send you back to your parents' house." Hearing this felt like doomsday for me. I understood well what sending me home meant, a threat of divorce. What was so special about that room that my husband was threatening to divorce me? I decided I would no longer tolerate this. I decided I will only rest once I know the secret of that room. That's why I quietly sat down. Michael had fallen into a deep sleep again, while I stayed awake planning. I had decided that in the morning I would get all the information from my employees. Morning came, and Michael went to visit the fields while I wandered around the estate. I called a male employee to me and said, "You are from this town, right? You know every person, every house here?" He said, "Yes, ma'am. Exactly like that." I said, "Tell me about those 5 boys who go to the servants' quarters every evening." The employee got nervous hearing me. He said, "Madam, I really don't know." I said, "If you value this job, then tell me everything truthfully. Otherwise, I will make sure you're kicked out of this house and the town too." The employee got scared and said, "Those 5 boys are from our own town. They are the sons of the Carter's tenants. They have been coming here for the past year, but no one knows why or what work they do." I said, "Okay, show me their home addresses. Your responsibility ends here." The employee got even more scared and said, "Madam, I sincerely advise you never ever make the mistake of going to their homes. Otherwise, Michael will throw you out of his life." I said, "Don't worry about that. Just tell me where their homes are." The employee gave me the addresses of all 5 boys. I decided that I would go to their homes myself to find out why they come to my estate every day and spend time with my husband, who then gets tired and doesn't have the mood to give me attention. I put on a black burqa that was a maid's uniform from my estate and left the estate. I wasn't afraid to leave the estate, nor was I unfamiliar with the village roads. If I had been a carter's daughter, I would obviously have felt nervous leaving the estate. But I had spent my whole childhood in the village lanes and knew every path well. First, I decided to visit Aslam's house. When I arrived, I was amazed it didn't look like part of our village at all. Such a beautiful house. I was stunned just seeing it. Aslam's parents were quite poor. His father had a minor illness, but because they had no money for treatment, it worsened and eventually led to his death. After that, his wife supported the children by sewing clothes for others. I knocked on the door and Aslam's mother came out. I said, "I came to meet you." She said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm from your village. Don't be scared. Please let me come in." Auntie gave me way and said, Yes, come in." As soon as I entered, I removed my veil and said, I am Michael's wife, and he has sent me to see Aslam." Hearing this, Aslam's mother started crying. She joined her hands in front of me and said, "Please, madam, tell Michael that my son can't do this work anymore. His health is worsening day by day. He's fallen ill. We have earned as much money as we needed. Please save us from this work." I said, "What work? What are you talking about?" Aslam's mother got nervous hearing me. She said, "Don't you know?" I said, Yes, I do know." I thought if I said I didn't know, she wouldn't tell me about Aslam's work, but she was alert and said, "No, I was just saying." I tried to get her to talk more, but she revealed nothing. Disappointed, I returned to my estate. But I left my heart and mind with Aslam's mother. I wondered why she was so worried and what work she wanted to save her son from. I thought if I talked to Michael, he might fight me and say, "Why did you go there?" He might even divorce me, because our marriage was still new and love wasn't strong yet. That's why I decided to try another way. I plan to hide in that room tonight and see what really happens there. As soon as it was Maghrib time, I hurried towards the room, afraid someone might see me coming. Sneaking carefully, looking around, I finally reached the secret room. I hid behind the window curtain. Soon, the 5 boys entered one by one, and Michael followed them. I was very nervous, wondering what truth would be revealed to me today. Michael entered and locked the door from inside. The boys greeted him, and he smiled. Michael said, "Who is ready today?" None of the boys raised their hand. Michael said, "Even if you're not willing, you have to do this work." He pulled off a cloth covering something. There were 3 or 4 cameras set up. I got scared, wondering what Michael might be recording with those cameras. Then he called Aslam and said, "You go first." Aslam stepped forward, and Michael sat him down at a decorated table. I looked closely and saw some toys lying there. Michael said, "Unbox these." He handed Aslam a paper and said, "Memorize the words written here and say them in front of the camera." A lot of time passed during this. Then the next boy was called, made to stand in front of a green screen, and a cooking video was filmed. My mind was overwhelmed with questions, so I pulled back the curtain and stepped out. Michael was stunned to see me. He said, "You had the courage to come all the way here." I said, "Don't be angry. Tell me, what are you doing here?" Michael said, "Namra, you already know. I'm not good at managing lands. My crops often fail. I am more interested in mobiles and computers. But I refused to let them do manual labor. I thought their youth would be wasted in farming. I started making YouTube videos with these boys. They got a lot of appreciation, and soon we became successful. I created 5 channels and worked hard. I write scripts for the boys, make videos, and edit them myself. But lately, these boys have become rebellious. They say I use their faces to make more money and give them less. I have now started paying them after every video. Their parents come to me saying the children's health is getting worse, sitting in front of the camera. They want me to stop making videos. They are laborers' children. If they work as laborers, they will remain healthy. I said, "Michael, you cannot force anyone to do anything. If these boys don't want to work, give them their share and let them go." Michael agreed with me. The boys happily went back home. Michael said, "My income was very troubled because of YouTube. That's why I couldn't give you time. I felt tired of everything. Now that the boys have left, my channels might fail." I said, "That won't happen. You can make videos yourself instead of the boys, and I will edit them so it looks like children made them." Michael said, "But how?" I said, "Don't worry. Science has progressed a lot. I will do this work with AI. When we started doing this work together, we progressed more than before." Michael was very happy. He started giving me half his earnings, which I gave to my mother. Our relationship grew stronger than ever. I am extremely happy. If you liked today's story, please like the video and share it with your friends. And yes, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, do subscribe. See you tomorrow. with a new and interesting story. Goodbye.